Ely is a city in St. Louis County, Minnesota, United States. The population was 3,460 at the 2010 census. It is located on the Vermilion Iron Range, and is historically home to several iron ore mines. Today the city of Ely is best known as a popular entry point for the Boundary Waters Canoe Area Wilderness, the International Wolf Center, and the North American Bear Center. The main street of Ely is lined with outfitters, outdoor clothing stores, and restaurants. State Highway 1, State Highway 169 and County Road 21 of the main routes in Ely. History. The first Europeans to explore the area were fur traders, who made their way into the wilderness in search of furs. But it was the Lake Vermilion gold rush that brought the first large numbers of pioneers to the area in 1865. Although hardly any gold was ever found, it was discovered that the area did contain large deposits of iron ore. Thousands of new immigrants were arriving in America at that time, and many of them came to the area later to be known as the Minnesota Iron Range, looking for work. When the Duluth, Mississippi Iron Range Railway laid tracks extending the rails from Tower to Ely in 1888, Ely began mining operations with the opening of the Chandler mine, shipping the ore to docks on Lake Superior in two harbors in Duluth. That year the miners incorporated the town of Florence, population 177, near the east side of ShakataGaNai Lake on a site now known as Spalding. The miners named the settlement Florence after the daughter of the Chandler mines captain Jack Pengilly, but the community moved after ore was discovered farther west, and it changed its name as well, since it was found that the name Florence was already taken by another Minnesota village. Ely was chosen in honor of mining executive Samuel B. Ely, a big promoter of Vermilion Range ore who lived in Michigan. The original town site consisted of 40 acres. The first grocery store was opened in a small log building by a man named McCormick. A.J. Fenske built the first frame building in the fall of 1887. He also opened a hardware and furniture store. The Pioneer Hotel was also built that year at the corner of Sheridan Street and 4th Avenue. The first school was opened in 1889 in a small frame building on 2nd Avenue. The school attendance was 112 during the first season, according to a history written in 1910. The first religious service was conducted by Father Burr, who came from Tower for that purpose, and the Catholic congregation erected the first church. The first Protestant minister was Rev. Mr. Freeman, who arrived in time to hold an Easter service in 1889, and located here permanently, organizing the Presbyterian Church. There are now 6 churches, representing as many different faiths. The first white child born in the place was Samuel Ely Polkinghorne. Soon other mines were opened in Ely, the Pioneer Mine, the Zenith, the Savoy, and the Sibley. The Pioneer was by far the most productive, producing 41 million tons or 40% of the Vermilion Range's entire output. Eventually 11 mines opened near Ely. In 1967, the Pioneer Mine closed. It is on the National Register of Historic Places and now hosts the Ely Arts and Amp Heritage Center. Originally the mining was an open-pit operation, but when the abundant ore was mined out, deep shafts were made to start mining underground, with the need for wooden support beams to keep the tunnels from collapsing, along with the need for lumber to meet the needs of the ever-expanding growth in the area. The logging and milling industry grew. Logging continues in the region, though on a limited scale and only for paper pulp. The major operations virtually disappeared by 1920 when the area's tree reserves were depleted. Community Ely is served by two community-oriented newspapers, the Ely Echo and the North Country Angler, and a radio station WELY. Ely is host to many community events located in Whiteside Park, such as the Blueberry Arts Festival in July, the Harvest Moon Festival in September, and the Winter Festival in February. In May 2012, Ely was threatened by a fast-moving wildfire started by a downed power line on Highway 1. Due to the rapid firefighting response, including the use of air tankers, the fire was limited to 216 acres just outside town. Geography and climate. According to the United States Census Bureau, the city has a total area of 2.74 square miles. 2.73 square miles is land and 0.01 square miles is water. Ely is located 100 miles north of Duluth, 117 miles southeast of International Falls, and 244 miles north of Minneapolis, St. Paul. On the Köppen climate classification, Ely falls in the warm summer humid continental climate zone. Demographics. 2000 census. As of the census of 2000, there were 3,724 people, 1,912 households, and 916 families residing in the city. The population density was 1,369.5 people per square mile. There were 1,912 housing units at an average density of 703.2 per square mile. The racial makeup of the city was 96.86% white, 0.86% African American, 0.54% Native American, 0.19% Asian, 0.30% from other races, and 1.26% from two or more races. Hispanic or Latino of any race were 0.67% of the population. 21.8% were of German, 12.2% Slovene, 11.7% Finnish, 8.7% Norwegian, 6.4% English, 5.6% Swedish, and 5.4% Polish ancestry. There were 1,912 households, out of which 21.4% had children under the age of 18 living with them. 41.6% were married couples living together. 8.4% had a female householder with no husband present, and 45.9% were non-families. 39.0% of all households were made up of individuals, and 21.1% had someone living alone who was 65 years of age or older. The average household size was 2.05, and the average family size was 2.72. In the city, the population was spread out, with 17.8% under the age of 18, 16.2% from 18 to 24, 21.6% from 25 to 44, 22.9% from 45 to 64, and 21.6% who were 65 years of age or older. The median age was 41 years. For every 100 females there were 101.0 males. For every 100 females age 18 and over, there were 102.6 males. The median income for a household in the city was $27,615, and the median income for a family was $36,047. Males had a median income of $34,559 versus $18,833 for females. The per capita income for the city was $16,855. About 9.5% of families and 14.5% of the population were below the poverty line, including 10.9% of those under age 18 and 12.5% of those age 65 or over. 2010 census. As of the census of 2010, there were 3,460 people, 1,681 households, and 814 families residing in the city. The population density was 1,267.4 inhabitants per square mile. There were 2,022 housing units at an average density of 740.7 per square mile. The racial makeup of the city was 95.9% white, 1.0% African American, 0.8% Native American, 0.7% Asian, 0.1% from other races, and 1.6% from two or more races. Hispanic or Latino of any race were 1.1% of the population. There were 1,681 households, of which 19.1% had children under the age of 18 living with them. 37.1% were married couples living together. 8.4% had a female householder with no husband present. 2.9% had a male householder with no wife present, and 51.6% were non-families. 45.3% of all households were made up of individuals, and 19.8% had someone living alone who was 65 years of age or older. The average household size was 1.93 and the average family size was 2.66. The median age in the city was 45.3 years. 16% of residents were under the age of 18, 13.4% were between the ages of 18 and 24, 20.3% were from 25 to 44, 27.4% were from 45 to 64, and 22.9% were 65 years of age or older. The gender makeup of the city was 49.7% male and 50.3% female. Recreation. There are many Minnesota wilderness hiking trails in the Ely area. Echo Trail, considered one of the most scenic trails in Minnesota, is a former logging road that runs north and west out of Ely and provides the primary access to the lakes of the western Boundary Waters Canoe area. Wilderness. The trail is a 72 miles road on asphalt and gravel through the wilderness of the Superior National Forest and Kabetogama State Forest. Numerous trailheads and canoe portages along the trail provide access to the BWCAW. A side trip passes north to the resort village of Crane Lake, a gateway to Voyageurs National Park. Special attractions include views of sharply rolling forest, lakes, wetlands, rivers, and granite crags in one of the most remote areas in the contiguous United States. Recreation opportunities include canoeing, fishing, cross-country skiing, snowmobiling, and primitive camping in the Superior National Forest and Boundary Waters. Wildlife includes bald eagles, ospreys, moose, bears, wolves, and beavers. The area also offers blueberry and other wild berry picking and wildflower viewing. Arizona Trail offers historic views of the old iron ore mining operations that first brought new immigrants to the area. The trail passes through the Pioneer mining pit with views of the old mine shaft head frame and historic buildings. Hidden Valley Trail, 1 mile east of Ely, passes through paper birch and white pine stands. Kawasiwi Falls Trail offers views of Kawasiwi Falls of 70 feet drop. The name Kalasiwi in Ojibwe language means river full of beaver and muskrat houses. Native Americans, explorers and voyagers portaged around the falls. The watershed drains from the Boundary Waters Canoe area wilderness and flows 2,000 miles north to Hudson Bay. Bass Lake Trail, a 5.6-mile trail 6 miles north of Ely, has an interesting history. In 1925, a sluiceway created by logging operations washed out, leaving a gorge over 250 feet wide, and Bass Lake was lowered 55 feet in 10 hours, reducing it to one-half its original size. The trail hosts backpacking campsites, attractions. Ely is the largest jumping-off town for the Boundary Waters Canoe area wilderness. The BWCAW is renowned as a destination for both canoeing and fishing on its many lakes, and is the most visited wilderness in the United States. With extensive outfitting and other services, Ely can credibly be claimed to do the most wilderness canoe outfitting of any town or city in the world. Longtime Ely resident Sigurd Olsen was instrumental in creating the BWCAW. Author, environmentalist, and advocate for the protection of wilderness. For more than 30 years he served as a wilderness guide in the lakes and forests of the Quetico Superior country of northern Minnesota and southwestern Ontario. He worked for the protection of the Boundary Waters, helped draft the Wilderness Act of 1964, and helped establish Voyageurs National Park in northern Minnesota. He was known honorifically as the bourgeois, a term the Voyageurs of old used for the trusted leaders. North American Bear Center. Ely is home to the North American Bear Center, an interactive museum and educational facility featuring the American black bear. The North American Bear Center, the only science, nature museum of its kind, is dedicated to helping people learn from the bears themselves about bear behavior, ecology, and the relations with humans. A wall of windows overlooks a 2.5-acre naturally forested enclosure with a pond and waterfalls, which is home to 4 resident bears. The center also features exhibits, a theater, children's activities, and interpretive nature trails. International Wolf Center. The International Wolf Center is one of the world's leading organizations dedicated to educating people about wolves. Founded in 1985 by a group of biologists led by Dr. L. David Meck, a world-renowned wolf biologist. The center opened in 1993. The center features gray wolves viewable through large windows that allow visitors to watch the wolves communicate, play, hunt and eat. In addition to the on-site ambassador wolves, the center offers a variety of educational programs at its Ely Interpretive Facility as well as other locations in northern Minnesota and across North America. Afternoon, weekend and week-long programs include howling trips, radio tracking, snowshoe treks, family activities, dog sledding, videos, presentations, flights over wolf country, demonstrations, and hikes. Arts and Amp Heritage Center. The Ely Arts and Amp Heritage Center is located in the historic Pioneer Mine Complex. It is managed by a non-profit arts organization, Ely Greenstone Public Art. They offer classes, hold exhibits, and festivals. Dorothy Moulter Museum. The Dorothy Moulter Cabin and Museum are located in Ely. Known as the Root Beer Lady, Moulter lived for 56 years on Knife Lake in the Boundary Waters Canoe area wilderness. Various factors combined to give her national prominence and extensive coverage in media, books and documentaries. And over the years, tens of thousands of canoeists stop by to visit and drink her homemade root beer. Moulter first visited her future home on Knife Lake in 1930 and it became her home starting in 1934. Up until the mid-late 1940s, the Isle of Pines resort was typical of many Northwoods resorts. It was reachable by seaplanes and motorboats, and later by snowmobiles as they came into use. But when her location evolved into the Boundary Waters Canoe area wilderness, eventually nearly all motorized transportation was eliminated and residences, buildings, business and the few roads from the wilderness were removed, leaving Moult the only full-time resident in a wilderness area 3 times the size of Rhode Island. After Moulter's death, her cabin was dismantled and moved to Ely. Her residence and a second cabin of hers were re-erected, and the Dorothy Moulter Museum was formed to preserve her legacy. Camp Widgewagon. Camp Widgewagon is a wilderness camp for girls and boys located on Burnside Lake. The camp is nationally recognized for its canoeing and backpacking programs. It also has an environmental education program, the Widgewagon Outdoor Learning Program. During the summer months they run canoe and backpacking programs offered at several degrees of experience, with more advanced trips for experienced campers. Environmental education programs are held during the fall, winter and spring seasons with students studying wilderness survival, plant and tree identification, basic hiking skills, animal tracking, the night sky, snowshoeing, and cross-country skiing. Master builder of wooden canvas canoes Joe Seliger lived in Ely and was an instructor at the camp. When Seliger died in 2005, Camp Widgewagon received his canoe form. Hegman Lake Pictographs. The Hegman Lake Pictographs, located within the BWCAW about 15 miles north of Ely, have been described as perhaps the most visited and photogenic pictograph within the state of Minnesota. Located on a large overlooking rock wall on North Hegman Lake, it is thought that the rock art was most likely created by the Ojibwe Indians. The meaning of the painting is uncertain. It appears to represent the Ojibwe meridian constellations visible in winter during the early evening, and while some anthropologists believe that it may have served as a guide for navigating in the deep woods during the winter hunting season, others see it as a visual representation of the connection between the spiritual and temporal worlds. In the summer the site can only be reached by canoe, but in the winter when the lakes are frozen it can be viewed on foot, or with snowshoes if the snows are deep. Famous hoaxes. People from Ely, with the support of the city council, have created various hoaxes as a way of garnering free publicity for the city. One hoax was that of a fictional family that paints the leaves of trees every fall. The fictional family was retiring from the business, and wanted people to send in their color application if they wanted to help carry out the tradition. Previously, a story was released about Ely seceding from the United States to be part of Canada. Both hoaxes were featured on Ely's Chamber of Commerce website, www.ely.org. In 2009, Ely made a tongue-in-cheek international bid for hosting the 2016 Olympics, with a man allegedly already employed with a bucket to drain Miners Lake to the south of town, in order to provide stadium seating in time for the Olympics. This hoax became widely known throughout the entire state of Minnesota, and was often reported on radio stations, shirts, bumper stickers, signs, and even interstate billboards bearing the slogan. Ely in 2016 became commonplace throughout the state. Education. Ely Memorial High School, Vermilion Community College. Notable people: Jim Brandenburg, photographer with National Geographic; Dorothy Louise Moulter, the root beer lady; Sigurd F. Olson, naturalist and author; Will Steger, explorer; Jessica Biel, actress, was born in Ely; Joe Seliger, master builder of wooden canvas canoes; Darren Strebler, comedian.